Let's just dive right into it. If you've been staring at a blank document trying to figure out how to piece together your WA1 assignment, you are in the perfect place. Think of this explainer not just as a guide to writing a paper, but as a literal construction project. We're going to build a sturdy, reliable bridge between a standalone idea and a fully fleshed out academic essay. Let's get building.
But before we break ground, we really have to ask ourselves one core question. How do you actually connect a TED Talk to an academic essay? Because bridging a popular, standalone idea with rigorous academic research, that is the ultimate goal of your project here. It's definitely not just about summarizing a video. It's about making that video talk to scholarly work in a genuinely meaningful way.
So here is our blueprint for this project. We're going to cover building the academic bridge, your anchor, the TED Talk, defining the argument's direction, finding your secondary source, drafting your working thesis, and finally, joining the academic conversation. Starting off with building the academic bridge and laying the foundation for WA1.
Any good builder surveys their materials before the writing even begins, right? To lay a proper foundation, you absolutely must secure these core requirements. You need a working thesis idea rooted in your TED Talk, a robust secondary source to back it up, and the crucial ability to expand, complicate, or challenge that original idea. Honestly, if you're missing any of these three things, your bridge is basically going to collapse under its own weight. So we've got to get our materials sorted first.
Moving on to your anchor, the TED Talk, which is step 1, establish your base.
So what exactly is an anchor text? Well, think of your chosen TED Talk not just as a video you watch, but as your immovable anchor on one side of the river. Everything you write, every argument you make, and every single secondary source you pull in must connect back to this foundational piece. It's literally the starting point of your entire bridge. Now, as you watch, or let's be real, rewatch your anchor text, you can't just sit back passively. You need to be asking yourself some active questions to distill what the speaker is truly arguing. First up, what core claim is the speaker ultimately making? Second, what problem or assumption are they actively pushing back against? And third, and this is where your critical thinking really shines, what seems unfinished or worth questioning in their argument? I highly recommend jotting down a quick 2 to 3 sentence write-up for yourself answering these. Focus on the actual argument, not just the general topic.
Next is defining the argument's direction, or step 2, choosing the architecture.
Here's the cool part. You aren't looking for one single right answer. You're looking for a relationship. Your secondary source can act in alignment, meaning it perfectly reinforces or deepens the TED Talk's argument. Or it can create this really compelling tension, where it challenges or complicates the speaker's claims. And let me tell you, tension is fantastic for writing because it gives you so much juicy material to analyze.
Alternatively, you could totally go the expansion route. This is where your secondary text acts as a vital support beam, adding real-world complexity, nuance, or fresh evidence to your anchor. Whether you go with alignment, tension, or expansion, just remember, you're choosing a relationship between your two texts. That relationship, that's the entire architecture of your essay.
Let's look at finding your secondary source. This covers steps 3 and 4, sourcing, and quality control. We have all felt the absolute frustration of typing into a database search bar and getting zero useful results, right? If you type a full question like, how does inclusive education help neurodiversity? The search engine just gets completely confused by all those filler words. You have to strip it down to the core concepts. Start with key terms from the talk, like neurodiversity and inclusive education. Add in some academic synonyms like learning differences, and boom, you'll find the exact right materials without wanting to pull your hair out. But hey, once you find an article, don't just blindly accept it. Run it through this rigorous 3-step quality control check first. 1, does it engage the exact same issue as the TED Talk? 2, does it actually add new evidence, data, or a fresh perspective? And 3, can you clearly explain how this source talks to the TED Talk? If you can't articulate why the source matters, you've got to keep searching. A strong secondary source helps you say something brand new. It shouldn't just be the TED Talk repeated in fancier words.
All right, drafting your working thesis, which is step 5, combining the materials.
We've got our anchor, our direction, and our secondary source. Now it's time to actually construct this bridge. To get started, try using this brilliant thesis starter template. Structurally, it forces you to do everything a good thesis should. It makes you name both sources, explain their relationship, and clearly state your claim. While the TED Talk emphasizes blank, the secondary source expands this idea by blank, revealing blank. You'll absolutely revise this later,
but getting it down on paper forces your brain to lock in that relationship. Or if your architecture relies on tension, this alternative template works beautifully. The TED Talk argues blank, but when paired with blank, it becomes clear that blank. Whichever template you end up choosing, just make absolutely sure you're making a specific claim about what the connection between these two sources reveals to the reader.
The absolutely crucial point here is to avoid structural pitfalls, especially the trap of just summarizing your texts instead of analyzing them. Do not pick a source just because it casually mentions your topic. Definitely don't write a thesis that weakly says the sources are similar. You got to push deeper. Why does that similarity matter? And please, whatever you do, don't wait until your final draft to pick your argument's direction. Your direction is your blueprint. You have to know it before you start building.
Finally, joining the academic conversation and why this matters.
Let's pull back and look at the big picture for a second. This assignment isn't just about throwing two random sources together to hit a word count. It is your literal entry ticket into the larger academic conversation. Think about it. No writer ever works in total isolation. All writing is a response to something else. Academics respond, they build, challenge, and constantly refine ideas by placing texts in conversation with one another. When you connect your TED Talk to your secondary source, you're actively participating in that exact same tradition.
You have your anchor, your secondary materials, and your blueprints. So the final question I want to leave you with is this. Will your bridge just safely cross the river, or will it change the way the rest of us see the landscape? How are you going to build, challenge, and refine the academic conversation? Grab your tools, start building, and let's see what you create.